Hey, good day. Happy Earth Day. I'm sitting here in the South Carolina Botanical Gardens, and I just wanted to give you a little video update with what's going on. If you've been paying attention, you will maybe you know some of what's been going on in my life and my family, and how it's impacted Seneca Treehouse and the whole Treehouse organization. If not, I'll just give you a brief rundown. But I'm not going to get too personal out of respect for Chelsea. But there's some adjustment that's happening, to say the least. But I want to talk about the mission behind the whole organization and how that relates to where I am now, and also I want to talk about God. And if you're uncomfortable with that, um, I used to be uncomfortable with that too. So maybe you can replace the word love for God. I had to do that at one point in my life where when people talked about God, I would just get really uncomfortable. And um, so I just replaced, every time they said God, I would say love in my head, and it worked. But now I'm okay with talking about God. So hopefully that's not going to bother you. Also, I wanted to say thank you to all the people who've reached out over the last 6 months and just made a huge impact in my life. People who've been calling and praying with me and inviting me to do things, inviting me to church, and probably also doing the same thing for Chelsea. Thank you so much. The only other time in my life when I felt this close to God is when I met Chelsea, and that also relates to mission work. So I'll tell a little bit of the story, and I haven't really told this part of the story with the tours, but bits of it. But in 2008, the economy tanked, and I started to learn about the world, and I started to see the issues that were happening around the world, and I felt drawn to do mission work. I was like feeling like I wanted to go out into the world and just help people fix things like the bun men do, and really a lot of men do go out and try to fix things, right? And then I realized that we as Americans were consuming 25% of the world's resources while we were only 5% of the population, meaning we consume many, many, many times more resources than the average human being in the world. And I realized that the mission was not to go out and help people elsewhere, but to develop sustainability in my own home, my own homestead. And, typical to me, I just got crazy with it and wanted to, do everything, which made a really long-lasting project, but also made something that's really cool and inspiring, and it works. It does a lot of good in the community. But I almost gave up on it all, and really, so when I met Chelsea, she had just gotten back from a mission trip, and this is also when I was to the point where I was tired of trying to find a girlfriend, because every girlfriend that I had, it just didn't work out. And so I met Chelsea at 10,000 Villages, and she had just gotten back from a mission trip, and that's what I was like really into. She's cute, obviously, but she also was showing pictures, and I was just like, man, this is awesome. But I was so faithful in God at that point, where I was like, you know what? If it's meant to be, it will be. I'm not even going to get her number. And then it was. We ran into each other later, and the rest is history. But once we got married, I stopped. I just got comfortable. I stopped focusing, and I became really codependent. I became really, I didn't realize how insecure I was in a lot of ways too, but, when we separated in November, I was wrecked, and I just didn't know what to do with myself. But also when we separated in November, two opportunities landed in my lap, and this is where God's at work. God's at work in all of our lives all the time, but sometimes it's more apparent than others. Two opportunities landed in my lap. One was to help build earthquake-resistant houses in Haiti, And not just to help build them, but to help train builders and engineers how to build them, which is key. And then the other one was to help create a permaculture design course in Kenya. Both of those opportunities are still on the table now, but it's significant that they came into play in November, right when all this started to unfold. And I had some people say, why don't you just go get a 9-to-5 job? Why don't you do this? Why don't you, sell this place and come work for me? And all these things were thrown in there in the equation for me to assess and analyze. But God gave me, I counted a while ago, at least 15 different concrete reminders of why to keep going down this path. And then several other things have happened since then. They still keep happening. So I wanted to give up, and I actually did get to a point where I gave up. I wrote a newsletter and I said, hey, we're going to pass the torch of the Seneca Treehouse project. This is just too hard to continue. And in a sense, we did pass the torch, because we, as a group, and who I was, became completely broken man. I had to let everybody go. And then now it's just me, honestly, reborn and figuring out what that looks like, and have a new sense of what God is, and faith in Jesus, and just all these things that have come about through praying and listening and being present. And it's still just like, a lot of it's still new to me, but I've seen for certain that I am not supposed to give up on this project, and I'm not going to. And I might close some of the companies that aren't relevant. I'm pretty sure I'll just keep the Seneca Treehouse project and Treehouse Trade School. I'll probably close Amity Builders, and I might just make Treehouse International into like a name for the organization, but not a company. I'm not sure about that. But over the last several months, I've been helping train other people's employees, and I've been slowly working on this permaculture design course with some friends in Kenya. I've been to Haiti, and been going to a lot of church, reading the Bible, been getting some counseling and ministry, and there's so many things that have reminded me why not to give up. And there's one story here, this interpretation of Adam and Eve. I've heard that story over and over again, but I heard it I think it was a book, Fathered by God, by John Eldridge. I'm pretty sure that's where I heard this. He said, there were Adam and Eve, and God said to do this thing, and then Adam, instead of following God, Adam followed Eve, and that's why Adam fell. And that's exactly what I was about to do. And there's just so many things that are clear as day that I'm not meant to give up on this. So last year, this is the last thing, I'll let you go. Last year, I wrote out the vision for Treehouse Trade School, and it came out as a poem. And I had all these words in mind, but when I wrote it out, it just came out as a poem, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I altered it slightly, but when I read that poem, I realized that there were a couple elements of that poem that were not true to who I was. And every time I read it, I was like, man, I got to change something about me. It took getting to the lowest point in my life to see how I needed to make those changes. And I'm still not there yet, but I'm going to keep working and do it for me, do it for my family, do it for God, do it for my community, and hopefully make a positive impact in the world. Also, I've seen and heard from a lot of people who have had a great experience at the Seneca Treehouse project, and just how it's helped them, learning skills, learning about permaculture, learning about community, learning about what's possible for small businesses and doing business for good. So if you're somebody that's out there that's struggling, or maybe you just want to learn some skills, or maybe you're looking to try something new, or whatever, feel free to reach out to me, because I'm getting to a place now where I can start to take on, um, do some mentorship again, and I'd love to work with you. I'd love to talk with you at least. So that's it for now. Thank you. Thank God. Thank you all so much. I love you. I appreciate you for being there for me, for my family. Y'all have a blessed day. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.